Welcome to Wealth and Wellness. I am your host, Eric Jetson. Today's guest is an international public speaker, mixed martial artist, crypto investor, stoic, and head of PR. Jordan has given a Tedx talk that has 3 million views and has been featured on the BBC, Virgin Startup, and Santander.
When it comes to combat mixed martial arts, most people are fearful and scared when it comes to conflict. Why? Because they haven't practiced conflict before. We only feel safe in things that we've practiced before, that we're accustomed to. So know one point of failure. Number two, play out the bad, dark scenarios of how could a malicious actor get access to my assets? That's number two. And number three is have a separate identity, meaning you have Jordan Harry, who goes on Facebook and Instagram, downloads stuff on this laptop, and then you have a £300 laptop, your old phone, where you do all your crypto activity. You come on, you come off.
I have the great pleasure of introducing our guest today, Jordan Harry. Jordan, welcome on. How are you?
I'm doing marvelous. I do this thing where, based on the day it is, I describe how I feel. So it's Monday, so marvelous. That's how I'm feeling. How are you feeling?
Marvelous as well. I like that. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm so excited for you to share your insight and wisdom. Let's just jump right in with letting the audience get to know you a little bit. Give us some insight into your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Of course. And I think it's massively important, right, to know who I am and where I've come from, to understand, hopefully, the value I'll be giving everyone listening. So 2 years ago, I ran a speed reading and memory training company. So I was teaching people how to read faster and remember more. So very geeky. And then the pandemic hit, and I was forced to sit here. And whilst, as Coach JV says, everyone else was looking this way, I was looking this way. And literally, I say that because across my road, there's council houses. And on the other side of the road is mainly Americans. Now, I'm not American, if you can't tell by my accent. But what I found was being locked in my room, it was powerful because there was a whole community across my road who were literally looking one way. And I spent every hour I could changing my body clock to learn about crypto. Now, XRP was my gateway and understanding that technology. But then I understood there were many other blockchain technologies and many other winners in this space. At least I assume there'll be winners in this space. But what I realized was number one thing was access to information. And because it's a different language and because many people don't know the rules to this game, because that's what investing is, it's a game, people don't get involved. So since I've gone through my journey, I'm still on my journey, of course, I'm now a big advocate for simplifying the complex to allow as many people to get in whilst we've got a very short window, in my opinion.
That's amazing. So surrounding, wealth growing up, what was the conversation in your household around money in general?
Fantastic question, because it's one which many of us can relate to, which is money wasn't talked about much. And not because it was a taboo thing. My mum, growing up at a single parent home, she wasn't an investor. Crypto, or Bitcoin, as she calls it, Bitcoin. She still can't pronounce it correctly. That was a scam. That is a general consensus still to today. So for me, we didn't really have too much one way or the other. It wasn't a case of save. It wasn't a case of get a good job. She allowed me to fail safely. And that's one thing I really want everyone to kind of start thinking about, which is how can you fail safely? As a mixed martial artist, we're taught to fail safely in training and to tap out before the limb gets snapped. And so the same applies with investing. The number one way to make money is don't lose it. So figure out ways that you can fail safe in this space. And so my mum gave me that permission, and having that nurturing background to be like, hey, go out into that scary world, but know you got this safe place to come back to, that allowed me to fail safe. So although money wasn't talked about, I had the environment to fail.
That's really important. And you're right. We a lot of us can relate to a similar conversation where there was a lack of that conversation, a lack of money because, there wasn't necessarily a lack. The food was on the table, the bills were paid, but there was not a lot of excess, nor a lot of talk about how to make money work for us, as opposed to just the traditional way of trading our time for money. And, I never heard the term time is your most valuable asset until I was 23 years old probably, and that's way too late. Kids from young ages should be hearing that. So
Mm-hmm.
so it sounds like you dove right in, you took some risk, and obviously high risk high reward, but you put in the time as well. It was a calculated risk, and you made little educated decisions on a micro level. So how did you get involved with XRP, and what led you to become more passionate and to continue your research journey in cryptocurrency?
What led me to was a friend who said, hey, put £100 in, and if you don't make it back, I'll give it back to you. I was like, hey, that sounds like a win-win.
Uh-huh.
But I knew what he was doing, right? Again, I needed that incentive to just sit still, be present, and be open to a new concept. And that's the hardest thing at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end of your journey, because you constantly have to be open to learning something new, which sounds the obvious. But Eric, you'll be able to relate. Once you actually get into it for a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, you develop habits, you develop your strategy, and you develop what works for you. And that doesn't mean that's the right way. Right? We can have a conversation later on about what's the right way. And that's what's the hardest thing in life, is knowing every time you wake up, you're going to be presented with a number of opportunities. It's your job to figure out which ones to be open to. And so fortunately, pandemic hit, I had time, one of the greatest resources. And I took a weekend and I said, okay, let me read all these white papers. And that was painful, but a worthwhile experience. And the reason why XRP stood out to me was my entrepreneurial hat. So when we understand as investors, we look for businesses that solve problems. And arguably Ripple, the company that is using the XRP token to develop its utility, that's what they were doing. They were trying to solve international payments, period. A bold and ambitious mission. But I always say, if you aim for the moon, you land on the clouds. So I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, if they succeed based on their business plan, this token will appreciate. Very little downside, 15 pence at the time, or 15 cents. Mm-hmm. Tremendous upside, right? And I'll finish with this, and this is my investing strategy, which hopefully will help people. You have to live somewhere in the middle between the space could take off tomorrow, or it could take 5 to 10 years, and let that guide every investment you do. So what I do is I lower my expectations. So I say, okay, let's say XRP doesn't go to $100, it goes to 50. Okay, so if I want to become a millionaire, I need to put more in. And let's say it takes 4 years instead of 2 years for it to go to $50. Now I need to manage my expectations accordingly and plan over the next 4 years how I can hit my goal of achieving $1 million if XRP went to 50 in 4 years. And you won't be let down if you lower your expectations and extend your time horizons. And that's kept me safe throughout this whole process.
So what would you say to a beginning investor, someone that's starting to bring in income, whether that's a 16-year-old, first job, they're getting a paycheck, or someone outside of college and they got an entry-level, salary management job somewhere? How do you advise someone to get into investing? Because I think everybody kind of knows now that we're not going to accumulate wealth by working a 9 to 5. So we know that we need to get into the investment game, and we've heard maybe invest 10% of your paycheck. But what is your advice for those young investors?
It's a question I hate being asked, and I hate it because all I can say is what I did, all right, and what worked for me. And that doesn't mean past results will equal future success. But what I can say is, hey, this is what I would do if I lost it all today. This is exactly what I would do right now, knowing what I know. Right. So what would I do if I was new again? If I forgot everything, if I lost it? Well, number one, I believe tremendously in this space. So that's number one, belief. I used to watch XRP videos every single day, about 7 different videos. And I'd watch my H-bar videos and I'd watch my Algorand videos. And these are different cryptos for anyone's not familiar. So at the beginning, you don't even have the confidence to take those numbers, because that's all money is, those numbers, and put it into this asset class. So it doesn't matter if I tell you what to do, because at the end of the day, this interview ends, I go back to my world and you go back to yours. and the price does all this and your life does all this, and I'm over here doing whatever I'm doing, right? So your confidence can't be based on me, it can't be based on Eric. It definitely can't be based on a YouTuber. But there is a period of time where you need to say to yourself, how much more do I need to know to make money in this space? How much more do I need to know to develop my own confidence in this space? So as a disclaimer, I love the Bear Bubble. Me and him used to work together extremely closely. Now my fiance does. And I haven't watched one of his videos. He's going to cry when he hears this for like 9 months now. And not because I don't like bull. I love bull to death. I don't need to know anything else about XRP or Ripple. The difference now, Eric, is tomorrow I'll be going to the Ripple house at Consensus 2022 to hopefully meet with Brad Garlinghouse and to go be in the same room as the people. So I can put in money every single day, every week, every month into XRP, and I don't need to know what's going on because I've learned enough about it that it either takes off or it goes to zero. And if it does go to zero, I hope I can buy more.
I agree 100%. And belief is that's where it starts. Why would you invest into anything if you didn't believe in it? Where your attention goes, your energy flows, and that usually means your money. And that I can resonate because over COVID, I did a lot of research as well. And it started for me with quant, with QNT. And then I obviously learned about XRP and, Stellar and everything, all the OGs, Chainlink, and, we could go on and on. But I believed that there was a problem, and moving money was not the way we move money didn't match with the times that we live in. That's all. We were just operating on an outdated system, and there's a problem, and here's a company like Ripple coming in to solve the problem. And that's what entrepreneurs do. So my belief in Ripple is very high, but in the whole space is also very high. And it's sad that there's so much misinformation out there. There's too much information. So how does one start their research journey when it comes to cryptocurrency?
The first and most important thing is it's difficult when you don't know someone who has done it before, right? And so you going in alone, understanding, okay, Jordan said, brilliant. Before I put any money in, I need to get my own confidence in the project. What project? How do I do my own research? Where do I do it? Again, I can tell you how I did it, but that might not help you, but I can peel back the onion and we can understand the principles behind it. So number one, you need to find someone who's got the success that you want. Right. And what I mean by that is rich is loud, but wealthy is very, very quiet. And the reason why is because it's boring and it's not sexy to build wealth. So it's going to be very difficult, for example, to find a wealthy mentor on Instagram. I say that because, in my opinion, some of the greatest minds in this space, Crypto Eric, King Solomon, Kevin Cage, these people, they don't have sexy Instagrams, right? They're extremely boring. I don't even think Crypto Eric has Instagram. So you're going to have to ignore vanity metrics. Number one, don't look at likes and followers to quantify the knowledge that this person's given you. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't a mutually exclusive thing, meaning doesn't mean if you have loads of followers and a beautiful Instagram that you can't be giving out knowledge. What I'm saying, however, is there's people like the Node Catcher who's on Twitter. I used to follow him when he had followers, but the knowledge he was putting out was gold dust, and I knew he was ahead of his time. And the toughest thing you're going to find in crypto is 90% of the people in this space are before their time. And what that means is it's going to be very difficult. The right mentor. Why? Because someone like myself talking about XRP, we're talking about it before it's too late. So it's not going to be cool and sexy to get in now. That's the time you need to get in. So to answer the question, who do you find? Like finds like. For example, I'm mixed race, I'm 25, I have tattoos. I don't always have a politically correct hat on. I'm rough around the edges at times. I can be polished, but I can be rough, I can be relaxed. And that may not speak to you. And that's fine. But that's where if it does speak to you, then hey, lock in with me. Find out more about who I am and what I do. Because I can tell you the same message. I can tell you about why now you should be investing in businesses. but that might go over your head. Whilst if you're a female and another female who looks, sounds like you, and she has 2 kids as well, and she's telling you to invest in businesses, you're like, I can relate to her. She understands me. I enjoy listening to her, looking at her, and hopefully one day meeting her. So my number one advice when I say find someone who's got the success that you want and work backwards, literally find someone who maybe looks or feels or sounds like you, who has a lifestyle that you would like to live, and get as close to that individual as possible and work backwards from there. So if they have a paid course, subjectively, invest in them, consume their free content, follow them on Instagram, and eventually, like we were saying before the recording, saying no is where you need to get to. So at the beginning, you have to start wide. You have to check out all these different influencers from all these different communities, all these different shapes, colors, ages, vocabulary, to then find out and narrow your tunnel to where, for example, I only follow 200 people on Twitter. And I say that because my Twitter feed's the most precious thing to me. And I constantly whittle it down, Eric. You know, I probably unfollow 10 people, maybe follow 2 every month, because I'm constantly trying to refine it. So that's your job. Get 500 influencers, ask people, type into YouTube and go, oh, nope, don't like BitBoy. Nope, don't like Bearable. Nope, don't like this person. Oh, I love that person. Cool. Save for later. And just go through. And every month, every year, keep reviewing who you're consuming. I say who and not what, who you're consuming, and understand, do you still want this person to influence your life?
That's great advice. And that's how it started for me. Yeah, there was a lot of people on YouTube, and gosh, just to rewind, we have so many tools at our fingertips that are underutilized, or they're being used for the wrong thing. Yeah, Coach JV says it all the time. You know, this phone can be used for good or for bad. You know, I choose to make money from it because we can. It's just a tool. But yeah, I started watching Bearable Bull back in 2019 or whatever, and I just resonated with. I could feel his experience from the 2017, 2018, bull market, and how he watched everything go up and watched everything go down. And I gravitated towards him because I said, this is somebody that's got experience. He's lived through something like this, and he will not make that same mistake again. So, it kept me coming back. And then obviously he was giving me amazing insight into Ripple and XRP and the technology, and I could share that. I found myself being the one at work where, hey, I'm now the crypto guy, and I'm spitting these gold nuggets out of not only just crypto knowledge to try to get the right stuff out there, because no one's talking about XRP, on the news. Everyone at work, all they wanted to hear about was Shiba, and I was trying to change that narrative and just be the one to paint a positive light around cryptocurrency, because it just gets this negative rap. We all know there's bad actors, but there were bad actors in the internet boom and every new technological revolution. So it's just, we're in a transitional phase, and you and I both know, as soon as all the governments just get on the same page, we get some clear definitions and some regulatory framework, then we can move forward together, because that's what it's all about, is bringing everyone together, right?
Certainly. And I had a great interview yesterday between Christian, the CMO at Hedera, who's now gone to Swells, and King Solomon. So Hedera Hashgraph is the company he represents. And he was saying, if you're betting against Ripple and XRP, you're betting against the whole ecosystem, because it's like football. You're allowed to support your team. I'm allowed to support mine. But if you wish bad upon another team, expecting that your team will do better, that's nonsense. And especially when we talk about the politics of this, if XRP is deemed whatever the SEC deem it to be, then that means they're going to come from many of the others, because arguably if Ripple can't beat them, I don't know many other companies that will in terms of their resources. And it's the typical quote, dimming someone else's light doesn't make yours any brighter.
So crypto aside for a second, what does wealth mean to you, Jordan?
Wealth to me allows me to live my dream day. And this is something I've repeated a few times, because arguably out of all the personal development books I've read online and offline, Jordan Peterson, he has a fantastic online course, and it's all about writing your own biography, past, present, future. And one of the future questions, which still today guides my wealthy decisions, is what would your dream day look like? And not putting you on the spot, Eric, what that means is, what time do you wake up? What country? What time? Who are you waking up with? What type of clothes are you then putting on? Where are you going? What's the type of coffee? What's the type of email? I mean, you can really understand how granular you actually need to get to. And surprisingly, most people don't know what their dream day would look like. Most people know, cool, I want that dream car, I want that dream house, I might even want that dream partner. But most people don't know what a dream day looks like. And so my dream day is waking up in Brazil, going to a cafe to speak Portuguese, to then later on do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, have my friends fly out to have the best food and ingredients for my partner to cook, and the list goes on. Now, I'm getting very close to that. And what's beautiful about that is it feels right. And as humans, we constantly want to evolve. Human beings, we're becoming something. Once you understand what your dream day looks like, you understand how much you need to make. And that's arguably the hardest thing, because as humans, here we go, a little bit morbid. We don't know how long we're going to live for. That's why it's so hard to save. That's why it's so hard to say, cool, I'm going to make 100K. You make 100K, you're like, okay, I need to make more. Because we don't know how long we're going to live. Arguably, though, if you figure out what your dream day looks like, then you can work backwards from there. And that's not conditional happiness. It's not saying I'll be happy when I'm in Brazil speaking Portuguese. What that means is the decisions I make today, what does wealth mean to me? I'm able to fulfill and answer that question. And that question is going to be answered different by Eric, and it will be answered differently by your next guest. And so it should be. And hopefully that will give everyone watching and listening to this an insight into, well, what does wealth mean to you?
That's so important. I always start with a new client with what do you want? What's the goal? Because everybody has a different goal. And if the goal is just this house or this car, well, you need to work on that, because
you're going to get it one day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the easy part, but yeah, what do you want the rest of your life to look like? What do you want your spiritual life to look like? How do you want your mind to operate? What do you want your physical body to look like and feel like, in 10, 15 years? And whatever that looks like to you, then you can, reverse engineer. You can work backwards to, if that's a 5-year goal, then what do I need to do this year? What do I need to do this week? What do I need to do this, today? There's a book I read called The One Thing, and it's amazing. Because like I said, you just reverse engineer to figure out, what do I need to do this hour to move me closer to that goal? And it's so easy today. Especially in the States, everywhere now, just it's hustle bustle. We're living the city life. We're always constantly distracted on our phones. Everyone is fighting for our attention. And JV is saying, we pay with our attention, and it's so true. So, if we all have the same 24 hours in the day, why do we just do a budget for where our money goes? Why don't we all do a budget to where our time goes? And maybe we can then figure out, all right, where we spend our time is where we're spending our money. And if we say no, like you said earlier, a little bit more, then we might free up some more income. And if we have some more income, then we can invest. So I love that, because wealth is different to everybody. And that's the whole purpose of this show is, to get perspectives and insights, from others as to what wealth and wellness means to them, hear their experience, but ultimately to inspire everyone to figure out what wealth means to them. Because once they can identify it clearly, then they can start working towards it.
Beautiful.
So, and obviously crypto has, helped a lot of people accumulate wealth. And we all know that you can't get rich overnight. That was an expectation. I think a lot of people have that expectation. They're going to invest $100 and they're going to become a millionaire overnight, and that I think everyone can attest that that's not true. And, the people that did make $1 million in the crypto market, they might've posted that, but that's the one post you saw. You didn't see the, 20 trades that they lost, or, the times that they got liquidated. And I want to learn from people that have lost. I want to learn from people that they've had skin in the game, and they've had time, and they've they've lost money. And now I'm one of those guys, and you live and you learn, but you only lose if you don't learn. And I could easily, hang up the cleats and say, hey, you know what? This crypto thing isn't for me. But then I would be hanging up the cleats on my freedom and my life, because this opportunity wasn't available just 10, 15 years ago. Our parents did not have this opportunity. And, I'm young enough. Yeah, both of us, we didn't have any skin in the game in the internet boom. But now we see the money. We see the money flow. And if you can follow the smart money, and that's all it did for me. When I saw the different backers of, QNT and Ripple, and just the different entities that they would be working with, I was like, okay, there's a high amount of value being transferred here, so it's something that I think everyone should look into. So as a crypto investor, security is at the forefront of everyone's concern. How do we keep our assets safe? Because if this is a long-term play, I want to be able to store that crypto somewhere where, I can access it. If God forbid something happens to me, someone else can access it. So give us a little bit of thoughts and insight into crypto security, online security, and overall privacy.
Eric, why'd you do this to me? I can't answer this in a couple of minutes. Okay, let's try. Let's summarize it in 3. So number 1 is no single point of failure. Meaning, okay, you have one password and that's the only way you can get into your account. Okay, that's surface level. Okay, double factory. Cool. Then it's a case of, okay, well, where's that password? Okay, well, that password's written down in one place. Could we put that password in a password manager like LastPass, have a master password for that, have that stored somewhere? And it's a nice little insight, I have it digitally on my device. I copy it and I delete 3 characters. I won't tell you what characters, but see, only I know what 3 characters to delete. All right. Then there's a double factory, and then I'm into my password manager. All right. So one password has 3 layers to access that. Right. For me, I'm constantly trying to build multiple fail safes. Cool. So the hacker gets into my laptop. Okay. They find out that's my master password. Okay. Now what can I do to make sure if they paste it, it doesn't work? They figured out what 3 to get rid of. And I'm constantly playing over these dark scenarios in my mind. I'm constantly being a pessimist, because it's only when we can play out these scenarios in our mind that we feel safe when they actually happen. I'll say that again, right? When it comes to combat, mixed martial arts, most people are fearful and scared when it comes to conflict. Why? Because they haven't practiced conflict before. We only feel safe in things that we've practiced before, that we're accustomed to. So we need to envision someone breaking into your home. We need to go to mixed martial arts training or self-defense training to actually experience what it's like to be in a situation where another human wants to impose their will on you. So when it happens in real life, you can't. And it's the same with your online security. You need to assume, and you also need to reassess, that you don't know all the avenues they can get in. So you need to constantly be playing over. So number 1, no single point of failure, meaning no one wallet has all your assets on. That means you distribute your FIRE tokens, your HBAR, your XRP across 4 different wallets. You also need to prepare that you could be the biggest mistake to your security and you could lose one of those ledgers. And thankfully you listen to this podcast and you've got another 3. Right? So no 1 point of failure. 1.5, okay, I'll give it number 2. Number 2, play out the bad, dark scenarios of how could a malicious actor get access to my assets? That's number 2. And number 3, if we give the rule of 3, is have a separate identity. Meaning you have Jordan Harry, who goes on Facebook and Instagram, downloads stuff on this laptop, and then you have a £300 laptop, your old phone, where you do all your crypto activity. You come on, you come off. Again, the whole idea is the only way these hackers, malicious individuals can gain access to your cryptos is they need to reverse engineer who the person is. So Jordan Harry crypto investor, micro influencer. He has crypto. Let's try and figure out where they are. Well, you can maybe access and hack into my Instagram, but if you come onto my laptop, you'll find that I'm a fraud. I don't do any crypto activities. Why? Because I have a whole nother laptop and it's only my characters. I come on, I get off. It's only my public keys. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to attach the public key to the real identity. And that's what crypto gives us. It doesn't give us anonymity, but it gives us pseudonymity. If you want me to cover that really quickly, Eric, what the difference is? Yeah. Please. So anonymity, we have a few zero knowledge proof cryptos. Everyone could do their own little research on what they are, such as Monero. So when I send Monero from whatever wallet, whatever exchange, it's anonymous. Pros and cons to that, right? You can't see any of that activity of what wallet, what value, pros and cons. With pseudonymity, my wallet is, and if you followed my activity, e.g., if I said, Eric, I'm selling 1 XRP right now, and he went onto the XRP scanner and he could see on the XRP ledger, 1 XRP was just sent at this time when Julian said it. And this is the wallet address, P73 to shorten it. Now he can follow P73 and he can see all the activities this wallet has done. And because I just said live, I just sent 1 XRP, he's confirmed that's my pseudonym, P73. So you have to be very, very careful when you tell people what you bought, how much you hold, etc., etc., etc. Because being online, rude people exist. Acknowledge that. You're going to bump into them. Don't be mad when you bump into rude people, but don't give up your pseudonymity in the crypto space.
That's amazing. Shifting gears a little bit here, you look like you're in good shape. You're obviously comfortable in your own skin. You're happy. You're joyful. I can feel the energy through the screen here. So, what is 2 parts here? What does wellness mean to you, and what are some habits that you have to maintain your overall wellness?
It's one guiding principle, and that's constantly seeking positions and situations of discomfort and resistance, because life is tough. And the best analogy I use is it's like being a wrestler. If anyone's wrestled before, you understand, it is grinding, meaning someone's going to try and take you down. You've got to defend the takedown. They take you down, and then you've got to get back up and get ready because they're going to come take you down again. But you don't know when they're going to take you down. But when they do take you down, you better get ready to move your hips back and start the whole process again. That is life. You don't know when chaos will strike. It's going to happen. They're going to try and take you down. How good are you at defending the takedown? And when it does take you down, how good are you at getting back up and getting ready for it to take you down again? Because it will happen. So as humans, especially speaking in our echo chamber right now, we are in safe environments, and arguably we can get too comfortable. So how do you introduce discomfort into your life? And I do that through mixed martial arts. What's beautiful about this, Eric, is last week I was doing Muay Thai in Brazil. I've got guys trying to take my head off, trying to knee me in the stomach. I'm trying to do the same to them. And then what happens is I come back down and I sit on my laptop and, my portfolio is down 20%. You can't compare the two, right? I am thankful when I walk out that gym and I can just about walk straight. And I can now laugh about my ribs destroying me, right? So that was my threshold of pain and discomfort. So when I see these numbers are down, it's like, I'll take that any day over this. Mm-hmm. And even if you're a jogger, even if you don't want to do mixed martial arts, again, subjective advice, I do my runs at midnight. Why? Because it's tough. Because no one else wants to do it. Because you're alone, it's quiet. Of course, be safe when doing this. Mm-hmm. However, what it does, it trains my mind to be like, yeah, we're doing this at a time when you don't really want to be doing this. And again, when I come back to my reality, someone on Discord has said something bad, whatever, ignore, move on. Because my threshold earlier was up here. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'd encourage everyone to do. You don't have to mix martial arts, you don't have to run at midnight, but look at ways where you can introduce discomfort into your life. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Drink the water instead of the Coke, because it will constantly reset your threshold. Because order and chaos, we move between the two. And it's how well can you prevent external circumstances dictating your internal environment.
Wow, that's powerful. Now, how do you practice self-love? And is there a difference between self-love and wellness, or is it incorporating?
I actually don't know the answer to the latter, which is the difference, but I can tell you about self-love, which is one, I love the way I look, I love the way I feel. And thankfully, that's been the case for the majority of my life. And I know for many people, that isn't as easy, right? So there is an inherent genetic lottery that some of us have won and some of us haven't, right? So potentially, not saying you're asking the wrong person, but being objective, I know, and again, being subjective, I acknowledge I could be perceived as good looking. Not to everyone, but on average, I'm a good looking, healthy individual. So for me to say, oh, it's easy, I look in the mirror and I love what I see, that's because I've won the genetic lottery in my eyes, right? In my opinion. And society will have their own opinion. But in my eyes, I've won the genetic lottery. I don't wish to be taller. I don't wish to be any bigger. If I did, I'd go train. I don't wish to be any smarter. My girlfriend dresses me, so I don't really care about that. So I don't look at myself on the surface and say, I need to change stuff. I understand there's people who do. I completely respect that. When we talk about self-love internally, now that's something we can all work on. And that's where happiness comes in. Happiness is fleeting. Like every emotion, it's fleeting. So when it's here, you enjoy it. And if there's anything that's helped me with my self-love beyond the subjective surface, is happiness is not a virtue. It's not something which is a reward that you have to do something to then become happy. It's not a case that you should feel bad because you're always happy, right? And that, oh man, everyone else got problems around me, there's something wrong with me. No. Enjoy the fact that you're happy now, and you might not be able to explain it, but you just are. And appreciate it, because it will pass. No one can be happy all the time. In fact, that would be quite depressing, near enough impossible. And what's nice, again, about discomfort is when you introduce discomfort into your life, and for those moments of discomfort, you're not the happiest. What's nice then is later on, walking into the house, oh, it's so warm. You're hacking it. Oh, wow, these shoes are so dry. Right, because a moment ago you were running for a puddle. So now you got some dry shoes on and you're happy. So actually, being purposely discomfortable takes away the fleetingness of happiness for a moment to allow it to come back quite quickly. So that is how I see self-love. I'm happy with what I see in the mirror, but most importantly, self-awareness. I understand that happiness is fleeting. I understand how to hack it. For everyone else, of course, I'm not in a position to advise, but hopefully you can listen to my story and realize, cool, I'm not genetically gifted, but I do want to be more happy. And if you want to be more happy, I generally believe you should introduce more elements of discomfort so you can appreciate when happiness does come around.
Well, hey, one last crypto question, and we'll let you go, because we could talk to you all day. You're so easy to talk to, and we have really appreciated having you on. But for someone that wants to get into crypto, and they've got, say $1,000, $2,000, how would you structure, knowing what you know now, how would you diversify that portfolio if you're only going to be diversified within the crypto ecosystem? Because, obviously our larger portfolio, we want to be diversified, whether it's precious metals or real estate, on top of crypto and stocks. But just within cryptocurrency, how would you diversify your portfolio and split up that $2,000 per se?
So I asked the infamous Greg Kidd, the true founder of Twitter. So everyone do your research on who Greg Kidd is. I asked him the identical question. And of course, he came back with me saying no financial advice. And then he followed up with, what's your risk tolerance? What's your preferred asset class? And I was like, wow. And I soon realized he couldn't answer the question, right? Because he could answer it today based on what he has available. It's completely different to what you did, which you gave me context. So thank you for that. So contextually, assuming debt's out the question, we won't touch debt on this conversation, that someone has disposable money, whether you've got a family or not, whether you've got high or low risk tolerance, you're ready to put in $1,000. The first thing I would say is diversification, but be conscious of over diversification. So number one, diversify between asset classes. That does not mean I hold XRP and the FIRE token. No, because you're still in the same asset class, which is cryptocurrency. What I mean by that is invest in business and crypto. Okay, well, how can you go about that? That's number one. Diversify between asset classes, but don't be fooled to think because you're in 5 different cryptos, you're diversified. And you don't need to see what happened in 2017. Just look at the market right now at this recording. So that's number one. Number two, don't over diversify. So if you've got $1,000, don't put 100 into a business, 100 here, 100 there, 100 into that asset, because what happens is even if one of those assets took off, it's not going to be life-changing. You have to double down. So in my opinion, $1,000, no more than 2 cryptos at the very max. A rough rule of thumb that I use is if you've got less than $10,000 in crypto, no more than 2 assets. It's just my rule of thumb. Because again, we're looking for life-changing money. So assuming that 100x is the epitome, that's your exit point, 100x on 500 split equally, that's 50K. That's pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. That's going to accelerate now all your investing moves moving forward. So diversify between asset classes, don't over diversify. And then number 3, invest in utility. You've probably heard about this banging on time and time again, especially if you're in Eric's ecosystem, which is right now in the crypto space, the prices are emotional. They are subjective and they move based on people buying and selling. But if you look at the charts of things like Solana, just for example, go check out Solana. Bitcoin didn't move up. There wasn't some good news, but what happened was NFTs became live on Solana, meaning more people had to buy the Solana token and held the Solana token to participate on the NFT marketplace. So what you have to understand is, okay, well, what's the tokenomics of this crypto? Why could XRP go to $100? Because I can't see it right now and all your charts aren't lining up. Don't worry. In my opinion, TA means nothing because no one can see the right side of the chart, especially in crypto, because if XRP fulfills its job to move the world's currency around the world, then it disregards all these price points and emotional traders, because what will happen is a new floor price will take place. So what I mean by that is, as long as, hypothetically speaking, all the banks in the world buy up XRP and they hold it, XRP's price will never fall below $100. That's a new floor price. It could still speculatively fluctuate massively, and it probably will because it's a highly tradable asset right now, but it will never fall below, for example, $100. And that's what they mean by decoupling from things like Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin tanks, XRP can't, because it's been held by banks and they're using it every single day. That's one example of looking for utility tokens. So diversify, don't over diversify, and look for utility of your token or asset to increase in value.
So it sounds like it'll take a little bit of planning, and we don't want to advise anybody. First of all, we're not financial or investment advisors, but we never want to jump in, do anything emotionally, right? There's nothing wrong with a spontaneous date with your wife, but a spontaneous investment decision might not be the best thing. So always do your own research. And before I started investing, I was doing research, and now I'm, heavily invested and still researching, still learning, still wanting to grow and learn. And that's what it's all about, because this ecosystem is evolving constantly. So if we're not constantly evolving, then we're just going to be left behind. So Jordan, thank you so much for your time and insight. We've gained a lot of value. Knowledge is power, but once you enact on that knowledge, that becomes the true power. So you can find Jordan on Instagram and Twitter at Jordan Harry with 2 N's, 2 R's, and 2 Y's. Be diligent out there. There are imposters. So make sure you're following the right account so you're getting the right information. Jordan, you got anything you want to close out with?
I'm only a message away. I mean that. A lot of people are fearful to reach out and ask questions, but I actually employ a little team to help make sure the right messages get to me. So please, message me. I'll get back to you within a week. See how I overestimate, because I know I can get back to you within a day. And don't be afraid to ask questions, because I always say I'd much rather look stupid than not make money. So I'd always look stupid than try to look cool, because my ego. So put the ego aside, look stupid to sacrifice to make money. Thank you, Eric, for your time. This is one thing we can't get back.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Please like this podcast, share on your feed, and check out the link in the description for free educational resources or for business inquiries. This is the Wealth and Wellness with Eric Jetson podcast. It's time to activate and elevate. Your journey continues.